Sunday because I mentioned already that during the conscious conversation portion, most of the groups ended up coming up with at least one, if not more, acronyms for dream. And so I don't have any of them to share with you tonight. But if you take a look at the YouTube description for the talk from Sunday, they're all in there. So I was thinking today, actually, I was not even thinking, I was just sort of opening up to what do I want to talk about in terms of dream today. Last month, I totally set myself up for success with spiritual practice. There were 6 talks. I had 6 spiritual practices lined up that I was talking about that all kind of flowed into each other and then, were like a whole package. And this month, dream, like that's just, vague, ambiguous. There were a few different kinds of meanings, nuances in there. And so what I did was I thought, well, okay, Science of Mind, I'm going to see what Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science and the author of Science of Mind, had to say about dream. And I knew there wouldn't be a lot. And anything that I looked up, it just didn't resonate. He was like really poo-pooing it and just thinking that it's kind of a cop-out or it's getting in the way of like really focusing on what it is that we need to be focusing on. And so I thought, well, that's not the direction I'm going. Or is it? Because the more that I thought about it, the more it reminded me of Paul Levy, who wrote this book, one of several, The Quantum Revelation, a radical synthesis of science and spirituality. It is the book that completely blew the minds wide open of everyone who was in my advanced consciousness studies class a few years ago. And we were kind of plodding along and reading the books we were reading, and then when we ended up reading this one, everyone's assignments changed, everyone's ideas of life changed, everyone's idea of our philosophy and teaching changed. Like any foundation that we came in with, thinking we're on, solid ground, was blown to smithereens, within the first class. And so I got to thinking about what Paul Levy talks about when it comes to dream. And his website is called Awaken in the Dream. And so what he writes about and talks about in this book and a couple of his other books, that he talks about how we are all part of this collective dream. This dream that we don't even necessarily know that we are a part of. And that it is so pervasive, it is so insidious, that he compares it to something called Wetiko, which is a mind virus that is so pervasive, that is so insidious, that is so sort of like natural, that people don't even realize that they are under the spell of this incredible, amazing force. And so when it comes to what it is that we're doing here when we gather, it's really to remember who we are, right? But why would we need to remember? Well, because on some level, we forget. We forget. And that's why when we're little kids, we can dream, we can imagine, we are constantly playing, right? And as we get older, there are all these things, these expectations and ideas and opinions and shoulds and coulds and woulds and whatever, from within, from without, that get piled on to all of that automatic dreaming, to that automatic expressing of who and what we truly are. And so I thought, you know what? Even though it's a little darker and heavier, that's what I want to talk about today, because that's what we're doing here. We're here to more fully express the love that each and every one of us is, the love that we truly are. And so this also took me back to the very first book that we actually read in that Advanced Consciousness Studies class, which was Plato's Allegory of the Cave. Anyone here familiar with it? Mm-hmm. Okay, a couple of hands going up. All right, so essentially what happens is there are a bunch of people living in a cave who are chained up and facing a wall, and they're watching shadows all day long. And because this is the only thing they know, they think this is real life. One of those people gets freed and ends up going outside of the cave, and he sees the sunshine. And at first it's like kind of scary because it's like, ooh, you know what, I can't see, it's blinding. Oh my gosh, I don't know what's happening to me. But then, as the eyes get adjusted, as they get accustomed, this person ends up coming on the stream and sees their reflection in the stream. And then it dawns on them that, hey, wait a minute, what we've been experiencing in the cave, what we thought was like our life, the only thing, the real thing, reality, that's not the case. And so what this person ends up discovering is that these people are chained facing one way, and the shadows that they're watching are actually being cast by people that are walking behind them with a light or a fire, depending on which version of the story you're reading, is casting these shadows on the wall. Well, this person is so excited because now he knows the truth. He knows the real truth about life and how amazing and awesome it is and how good it feels. He goes running back to the cave to tell everybody else, and then they're like, hey guys, guess what? And what do? You're nuts! You're crazy! This is the truth. Proof right here, sort of thing. And so to me, when thinking about this idea of us being in this collective dream that we're not even necessarily aware that we're a part of, there's still that in each and every one of us that wants to be known, that wants to be expressed, that is always nudging and pushing or pulling us just outside of our comfort zone enough to go, is there a different way? Is there something more? Is there something new and unknown that I haven't yet experienced? But not everybody is ready at the same time to go along that journey. And even if we are just 8 years, and I take myself as an example here, 8 years into consciousness studies, I'm the spiritual director of this community. I have several spiritual practices that are non-negotiables every single day because that's what I need for my life to keep expanding and opening up to the unknown and the new. Not everybody else is going to want that exact same experience, and not everybody else is going to want to open themselves up in that way at that rate. We're all on our own journeys, and we are all the ones who decide how much of that allness, that love, that creativity, that whatever it is you call it, that is the very essence of our being, that wants to express itself. And so when it comes to this dream idea, this dream state that Paul Levy is talking about, I just thought, this really talks to personal responsibility, which is the third thing that we talk about when we talk about the 3 principles of new thought. One thing going on, everyone and everything is that, and we create our reality according to how we use our mind and how we open our heart. But we don't all do it in the same way, at the same rate, at the same time. And so in this new month of Dream, we have new music, and the song that we're actually closing with is the song that inspired me, for this talk as well. It's by Billy Joel, and it's called River of Dreams. Anybody know that song here? Okay, a couple of hands going up. And so when Glenn, my husband, he first suggested that song, I thought, well, okay, maybe, I'm not a huge Billy Joel fan, but he was definitely part of, my collective consciousness when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s. I don't know if I had any of his albums, but we went up to the songs. And then when I took a look at the lyrics, I thought, whoa, this song is awesome. And what's super cool is it came to him in a dream. It came to him in a dream. He woke up with this sort of complete song and just thought, but this isn't my thing. I don't believe in this, and I don't want to record it. But he couldn't shake it. And so he did end up recording it and did quite well for himself. So some of the lyrics in the song are, in the middle of the night, I go walking in my sleep, through the jungle of doubt to the river so deep. I know I'm searching for something so undefined that it can only be seen by the eyes of the blind. And so this song is a song about a spiritual journey. The river that he's talking about is the journey. And then there's sort of the destination on the other side, that he's saying that's where the river is going. But really, if we think about it, and if we open up to the infinite possibilities of who we can become, there is no destination. Because we're always evolving. We're always on this journey. We're always expanding and opening up to a greater, more expansive version of who and what we are. And so in this experience, when he's talking about walking through the jungle of doubt to this river so deep, and then he says that the only thing that it can only be seen by the eyes of the blind, this kind of goes back to Paul Levy and this sort of collective dream that we're in, where we need to close our eyes so that we can let go of what it is that we know, and we can actually open up to the truth of our being, and not be influenced by what it is that we experience by the 5 senses, including our sight. Now, Paul Levy, in the Quantum Revelation, writes, sorry, I jumped ahead. The lyric goes further, in the middle of the night, I go walking in my sleep, through the desert of the truth to the river so deep. We all end in the ocean, we all start in the streams, we're all carried along by the river of dreams. And so when I read that part, that took me back to Paul Levy again, when he writes about the universe, and he says, It's as if in our sharing a dream space together, we are collectively dreaming up our universe while simultaneously being dreamt up by it. This is the meditation quote that we have today. So the question here is, are we dreaming up our life experience? Are we really creating our life experience according to how we use our mind and open our heart? Or is that experience dreaming us up? Or is it happening at the same time? I mean, in quantum physics, there's this thing called four-value logic. Something can be true, it can be false, it can be true and false, it can be neither. And if we're looking at infinite possibilities, which is what quantum physics talks about, there are gazillions of possibilities of what dreaming or a dream could mean. And because we are each unique individual expressions of this creativity in action, and we are rebirthing anew every single moment of every single day, that means one moment it can look this way, another moment it can look another way. We get to decide. We get to choose what it is we want to focus on. We get to choose how we want to experience our life. We get to choose how we want to dream or be dreamed up, or both or neither. So in the end, this comes down to choice and personal responsibility. So that third tenth that we talk about in New Thought. The more we awaken to our true nature, the more consciously we can direct the river of dreams while also being carried along by it. So my question to you is, as we lean into this month of dreams, are you going to let yourself be carried by the river, or are you going to direct the river in ways that you want? Or is it okay to maybe do both simultaneously? Whatever it is, the choice, as always, is up to you. Thank you, and so it is.